Thank you, and welcome to the third episode of Diversity and Inclusion on Air from the AAVMC. My name is Lisa Greenhill, and I am the Associate Executive Director for Diversity and Institutional Research at the AAVMC. And I am delighted to join our guest, Dr. Jana Hilton from Zoetis tonight. Dr. Hilton is a companion animal veterinarian who has been with Zoetis, formerly Pfizer Animal Health, for 12 and a half years. She graduated from Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Medicine, and after graduation, she completed a one-year rotating small animal internship at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Prior to Zoetis, Dr. Hilton practiced at a small animal hospital in southern New Jersey for 6 years and was a relief veterinarian for 3 years, practicing at various clinics throughout southern Jersey. She is one of 10 small animal veterinarians in veterinary medical information and product support at Zoetis, where she provides technical support for over 100 small animal products and is responsible for post-approval adverse event reporting to ensure the safety of drugs and vaccines. Her interests are in internal medicine, especially infectious diseases. She's currently enrolled in Temple School of Pharmacy in pursuit of a master's degree in regulatory affairs and quality assurance. And in her spare time, if she has any, she loves to travel, domestic and international, and she participates in adventurous activities such as zip lining, hiking, rock climbing, and water rappelling. So we'll have to talk about those fun activities later on. So, Dr. Hilton, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Sure.
Glad to be here tonight.
Great, thank you. If anyone is watching live, we've had some technical difficulties. So we will have the audio version of this podcast. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll be able to get the Hangout version to work. However, we are still pressing forward. So as I mentioned tonight, Dr. Hilton joins us, and I'm going to start off asking her some questions about her career path. Again, she started out in clinical medicine, and so I'm kind of interested how you moved from practice to industry.
Yeah, great question. So I've always wanted to be a veterinarian ever since the age of 6. So it kind of instilled in me at a very young age. I went to Tuskegee University, that's where I went to veterinary school, and I had only been exposed to small animal practice. So I really went down to Tuskegee with the idea that I wanted to be a practice owner. And after school, I went into the internship, which was an excellent experience, a one-year rotating internship at UT. And that gave me a little bit more clinical experience. But then I came back to New Jersey and actually started to practice at a clinic over in South Jersey. And I liked it. It was something that I was interested in, but I realized that, I just didn't I wasn't a business savvy person. So what a lot of students really need to realize is that, we go to veterinary school to diagnose, to treat, to help animals, and respond to help in their own well. But veterinary medicine is also a business. You have to practice good medicine and also be an excellent business owner. And for me, I realized that wasn't what I really wanted to do. And, you accumulate this debt and you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? So with me, I kind of had to reinvent myself. After 6 years of practice, being at one practice, I decided to do relief work, which I really loved. Was able to go to various clinics, interact with different technicians and doctors. And then I just one day just went online and saw a posting for a job. It was formerly Pfizer Animal Health with Pfizer as technical service veterinarian. And just sat down to the application online and came in for the interview, and that's all she wrote basically.
Wow, so it was kind of serendipitous.
So I can tell you for sure that I didn't start out to be a technical service veterinarian. My primary goal was to be a clinical practitioner / owner, but it wasn't in the cards for me. And I'm glad I did it though, because for this job you really need to have a strong clinical background to be able to talk about, cases and to help veterinarians when they call them with some of these really complex our cases that we deal with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you always been doing this particular type of work at Zoetis?
Yeah, so I've been with Zoetis, formerly Pfizer Animal Health, since 2003. So it's going on 13 years this year. And came in as a technical service veterinarian. And basically what that means is that I am responsible for all of the small animal products that we have. And our portfolio is enormous. It spans anti-infectives, vaccines, therapeutics. We just acquired a company that now has to do with diagnostics. We have an oncology product. So it's basically learning all the products and then also being able to, when veterinarians call, thinking that one of our products is not working or is causing a problem in a particular animal. I have to document that report, get that information to the FDA or USDA, depending on, so if it's a pharmaceutical that goes to FDA, if it's a vaccine problem, USDA, or diagnostics. But then being able to have an informative conversation with the veterinarian to say, yes, this is something that we expect. No, the animal's going to want a whole bunch of different products. We have to think of other things. It's a conversation that I have.
Great. So I see a viewer has joined us. Thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, we're having a few technical problems, so bear with us. We have kind of our audio rigged up a little bit tonight, so just bear with us. So one of the things that's not in your bio, Dr. Hilton, is the fact that you are one of Zoetis's liaisons to the student organization VOICE, which VOICE is Veterinary Students One in Ethnicity and Culture. And so this has been a really important student group that has played a role in the promotion of diversity in academic veterinary medicine. So could you tell us a little bit about the role that you play there and kind of your thoughts on diversity in the profession?
Yeah. So I have been the voice liaison between VOICE and Zoetis for about years now, and I'm primarily responsible for, helping the chapters in the national organization get funding to be able to provide, different activities that they may have, bring in different speakers to talk about different diverse things that may be going on. That's what I've been doing. I think it's very important, and as an organization, we are extremely big on diversity and also on inclusiveness. That's one thing that I'm very proud of with Zoetis, that, the leadership is extremely big on making sure that not only students, but just the veterinary profession in general is aware of, diversity and different aspects of that.
Great. So I know that there have been lots of questions because I know that the VOICE chapters have just got their money. And certainly there was some rollback of support. I don't mean that in terms of, I guess, Zoetis's overall support for VOICE as an organization, but certainly there were some tough choices that had to be made about that. And I'd love for you to take this opportunity to maybe kind of address that and maybe dispel some myths that are kind of floating around.
Right. Yeah. So last year was really a tough year for our company in the way that we did lose a lot of headcount. And actually in my department, I want to say we lost like 3 veterinarians that was just in my department. So, but what happened as far as funding for VOICE is that the leadership, and this is under 15 Jenkins, who was my mentor at UT for veterinary school, and now I have the honor of actually working with her here at Zoetis. She's the Chief Medical Officer of Veterinary Medical Services, which encompasses my group. But she and I had a conversation, and we basically, we know that VOICE, the national chapter and the student chapters, play a really important role in diversity. It's something that we want to continue as far as having a relationship with. And unfortunately, we did have to make some cuts, but we were like, we don't want to completely terminate or cut off the program because it is very important to our profession.
Sure.
So there was some cutbacks, but hopefully still, the organizations can still function and bring in speakers, send the members out to the FASMA meeting, and so forth.
Great, wonderful. So, so tell us a little bit about your thoughts and kind of your experiences at Tuskegee and how that kind of has shaped you. I know, I think that the experience of higher education shapes us all in general, but it certainly is the only HBCU and only minority-serving institution with a veterinary school in the U.S. And so tell us a little bit about, your experiences there and how that shaped your outlook on life and the profession.
Yeah, so I had an amazing experience at Tuskegee. To this day, if I had to do it all over again, I would. Just because I met so many people from such diverse backgrounds. I mean, not only from within the United States, but, we also had the foreign students come through. But as you said, being a historically black college, I also got that experience of learning about Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver. So I'm originally from Camden, New Jersey. It's inner city. And I guess it was just, my mother and father was like, look, we're sending you to Catholic schools. We want the best education. And I am so proud to have had that experience. I decided to stay at home for undergrad. So I went to Rutgers in Camden. There's 3 branches of Rutgers. I went to Rutgers, Camden. And that was a good experience, but it was also, for me, a situation where it was a large classroom. I kind of got lost. I didn't really have good counselors. So I was an okay student. I wasn't a great student, but I was an okay student. So for me to now transition down south to Tuskegee, and I guess I also have to look at it that I was very fortunate because I didn't apply to a lot of veterinary schools. So this is the early 90s. I made one decision, and it was to go to Tuskegee. And that decision was really based on my mentor. So when I was going through college, I was able to hook up with a veterinarian in Collinswood/Camden, New Jersey. And this veterinarian, actually, how I met her was through my grandmother, because my grandmother used to clean her house. And she was like, look, I have a granddaughter who wants to be a veterinarian. That's all she talks about, and she needs to talk to you. And her name is Dr. Carolyn Self. She took me under her wing. I would go in, help out cleaning, and I graduated from being a kennel assistant to, a regular assistant, helping her with the animals. And I was like, oh my God, where did you go to school at? This is where I want to go. So she told me, and ever since then, I was like, that's where I'm going. So I went down south. I had an excellent experience. It was a small classes section. So we started out with 60 students. We lost a few people. We graduated with 42. But I can tell you, I still go back every 5 years for a symposium that they have down in Tuskegee. And every time I see my classmates, we are elated and thrilled, and we just go back to the 90s. So we have a really, really good time. And I'm still really close with my 2 study partners in veterinary school. They also did, I guess you could say, alternative careers. They didn't go into private practice. So one actually is in research, and she works for Pfizer on the human side. And then the other one started off with USDA, and now she's actually working for the government biosecurity. So she's doing real well too.
Wow, great. So tell us about kind of what you'd like to see the profession do to promote more diversity, and certainly not just along the lines of race, but certainly diversity very broadly. I think that it's one of the also big hot topics, in addition to race and ethnicity, is of course gender. So we're seeing women starting to ascend to leadership positions, so there's there's still work to be done there. We are seeing some improvement, but we also, this year, we haven't released the data just yet, but we are projecting that we will hit 80% women We've been just hovering around it for probably a decade, but 80% women in the school. So, as the national diversity director, I'm always kind of joking, but not really, that we're looking for more than a few good men. So could you talk a little bit about, I guess, what you'd like to see happen in the profession related to diversity?
Right. So I guess what I would like to see is just more opportunities. I mean, and not only for women, but for, people of different sexual orientations, for people that have maybe disabilities. I think we just need more opportunities and more awareness. So I would like, even at some of the meetings that we go to address this, and I know you spoke at AVMA in Boston this past year, because I was there and I heard a little bit about that. But I think we've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go.
Yeah. You mentioned that the connection piece to Tuskegee was you knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. Do you think that if you'd had that, that linkage, that someone knew someone and could kind of help you get some of those contact hours, do you think that you would have been able to successfully get some of that experience prior to going to vet school?
Well, sorry, what was that again, Lisa?
So the vet schools require students to get hours, veterinary experience, both with animals but also under the supervision of a veterinarian. And this is something certainly that we're interested in studying more about, and kind of what does it mean, and is it valuable, and those kinds of things. But one of the things that we've questioned is whether or not it's very accessible to get that type of experience. So it sounded like in kind of leading up to your arrival to Tuskegee that you kind of had an inside connection there. Had you really kind of explored getting, how easy or difficult had it been before that to get experience?
Right. So from my case, with my grandmother knowing the veterinarian, and then I'm able to connect with her to kind of just get, like you're saying, that connection and experience too. I mean, it was a plus, but I can tell you that there are some, because I also talked to, it's a high school down in Philadelphia, and it's really good. It's an agricultural-based high school, and I talked to the kids about trying to, hook up with a veterinarian. Unfortunately, I'm not still in practice, but there's a lot of veterinarians down in Philadelphia, and they say it's just really, really hard to make that connection. One is their transportation. They don't have cars. They have to take public transportation. Trying to get somebody to take them there, it can be a challenge. So I think it can be a struggle. For me, I think I was just really blessed and really lucky to have known someone. I think it is good, but I think also, if you're able to show the qualities to say that you're determined, that you have good grades, that you're a good studier, I think all that still holds some value when you're interviewing for veterinary school.
Great. So we've got a few viewers who are watching live. The group chat feature is open. So if you have questions for Dr. Hilton, I am moderating that group section there. There should be some buttons on the left, and it should appear on the right, and you can post some questions, and I will relay them to her. So tell us. Dr. Hilton is back in school, and how long have you been back in school?
Oh my goodness, I'm a sucker. I actually started in 2010. I enrolled in a master's program at Temple School of Pharmacy, and it's to get a master's in regulatory affairs, quality assurance. Just because that type of degree, you have a lot of possibilities within the pharmaceutical industry. So I started in 2010, took the first class, which is drug development, which basically takes you through the stages of how a molecule is discovered, and then how it becomes, the actual product, the clinical trials, and then post-marketing. Took one class, did excellent. I got an A, but I just really got overwhelmed with school, with work, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So unfortunately, I did take a whole year off. But I can tell you, in that 1 year off, I really collected my thoughts, really focused, and said, you know what, this is the step that I want to go as far as regulatory affairs, and I really need to get back in it. So I've been going nonstop since 2011, and I'm so proud to say that this May I will graduate. So I'm taking my last class this semester.
Congrats! Awesome! Wonderful.
So it's taken me 4 years and 1 semester.
So what would your advice be to other kind of mid-career folks who, may be expanding opportunities for themselves and going back to school?
Right. So I think education is great, especially if it's going to be in an area that you're going to be able to utilize and use whatever degree you get, which I plan on doing. My thing is, it can be overwhelming, but don't get overwhelmed. I mean, if you're in veterinary school now, you know how to study. You know what to expect. What I can say about this graduate course, though, is that I'm doing less memorization and more actual working through and applications. So it's more interactions. The class is diversified. So I can tell you that I've been the only veterinarian, but my classes have consist of medical doctors, nurses, pharmacists, people that have done master's degrees, people that are actually in industry, in regulatory affairs, clinical trials. It's a gamut, and it's really a good program. Very interactive, and I'm constantly learning. I like it a lot.
Good.
So if you want to pursue and try to dab and dibble into something else that you're really, really passionate about, I say go for it.
All right. So, haven't seen any questions in the group chat yet, so I still have some more questions. So I'll keep this thing going for a while. So, tell me a little bit about, I guess, what advice would you give to current veterinary students, especially fourth years who, or maybe third years who are about to go into their fourth year beginning in May and June, and as they're wrapping up this, this academic experience, kind of what advice might you give those students, and what kinds of things should they be mindful of? What kinds of challenges with different rotations, especially for groups who are not or from historically underrepresented populations in veterinary medicine?
Yep. So I probably would say one thing that I did was I tried to spend my summers wisely at the time that I had off from veterinary school with a break. It's always good to find a practice, get in there, try to volunteer, definitely get a mentor. I think that's one of the big things. But like I said, your summers are really, really important, or your time off. Look for programs with the government. Look for things if you're interested in research. And then the other thing is, if you can, sometimes there's different conferences during the summer. Try to go to one, even if it's for one day, to just network and make some connections. I mean, that's really, really the big part of veterinary medicine, is to kind of see what's out there and see what you're going to want to do after you come out of school. Because my thing was, I came out after my internship to private practice, and don't get me wrong, I love clinical practice. I love diagnosing, treating. Surgery was really big down in Tuskegee. We did surgery in our third year, so I loved to do surgery. It was just that for me, I didn't really want to do ownership, and I didn't want to continuously just work for somebody all the time. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? It's kind of like, reinventing yourself almost. You have this debt, and that's the other thing. I know debt now is not what that was 20 years ago when I came out. So do not get discouraged coming out with basically a mortgage, because I had it, and I had it for 19 years. You have to chip it away, but you also have to do, me time as well. be able to have a little bit go into a savings. So if you want to do a little trip somewhere, you know, for a couple of days, to just clear your mind and get yourself together. Because if you just keep working, and you can burn out that way. You can really, really burn out that way.
Yeah. So several organizations, and I know many of the colleges have mentoring programs, and some are more successful than others. What should students, as well as early career people, be looking for in a mentor?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. I would look for qualities where they have great leadership. You know, if it's at a university, so with me, I could just go on my experience.
Sure.
When I was down at UT, I actually hooked up with two mentors, and you're not going to believe this. Two mentors. One was Christine Jenkins, who was also a Tuskegee alum, and now she's working here with Zoetis, but she's an internist, so she kind of took me under her wing, and I was, you know, talking to her because I liked doing the residency, but I knew research wasn't my thing, and I mean, I liked doing my internship, but I knew research wasn't my thing for a residency. So kind of chatted with her, and she kind of gave me some good direction to go in. But then I also had another mentor while I was at UT, Sharon Campbell, who was also an internist. She kind of was, you know, keeping me straight and narrow, saying, okay, well, you got to get out there, you got to do something. And believe it or not, both of those individuals are now working for Zoetis. So I'm able to reach out to them to say.
So,
yeah.
So is this a follow your mentor? Follow your mentor?
Yeah.
or you have your mentors follow you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I didn't plan on it that way, but yeah.
Great.
I kind of loved that. I had both of them.
Great. So as we begin to wrap up the show, what parting advice do you have, I guess, for the veterinary profession, you know, in terms of careers, diversity? What sage wisdom, Dr. Hilton, would you like to bestow upon the profession, particularly related to diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, we've made some really good steps towards bringing diversity into veterinary medicine. I do feel as though it still has a ways to go. I would just encourage students that if there's something out there that looks interesting as far as an internship, externship, preceptorship, go for it. You know, if you could go for it. If they say no, that's fine. Then look for something else. Mentors are very good to have. You know, just to kind of get some more guidance, get some leadership. But I just, for me, so when I talk to students, when I go over to the school in Philadelphia, and they ask me, well, what do you do? And they always think of a veterinarian as being working with dogs, with cats, small animals. And I'm like, yeah, I do that, but I'm not doing it anymore. And they're like, oh my God, they're blown away. They're like, well, what do you do? Are you still a veterinarian? I'm like, yeah, I'm a veterinarian, but just in a different capacity. So I would like to see more veterinarians, reach out into what I do now, technical services. Because right now it's just that I'm aware of, it's just a few of us. But, you know, government jobs, food animal is really, really big. And there's not a lot of diversity there. I think that's still an area that still really needs to be opened up and explored. Okay. So hopefully in the future with the younger generations coming up, that might be something that may interest them.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm sorry that we had some technical difficulties with audio, but I think that it looks like we have solved them. This show will be available on YouTube. An edited version of the audio will be available in the next couple of days. So anyone who's interested in diversity and inclusion on air will be able to listen to that on YouTube or directly from the AAVMC website. Next month, we will feature Doctors Colleen Cipriani from Purdue University, as well as Dr. Kanita Rogers from Texas A&M, talking about using data from climate studies, and as AAVMC prepares to launch the next iteration of our national climate study. So please join us next month for that, and the announcements are certainly on our Google Plus page. So with that, I think we'll wrap up. Thank you again, Dr. Hilton. Yes?
Oh, I have one more thing.
Yes.
So I talked a little bit about diversity and inclusiveness within the Zoetis, but I also kind of wanted to touch on, and I just realized that I didn't, is that about the scholarships that we have here at Zoetis for students that are in their second and third year. So I think that is an excellent thing, an excellent opportunity to just make students aware that we understand that, there are financial burdens coming out of veterinary school. It's a $2,000 scholarship. It's awarded to, I think, right under 500 students.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at not only students that have academic excellence, but also diversity, sustainability, people that may be interested in other occupations other than, clinical practice. So food, animal, rural medicine, and things like that.
Great.
So, yeah.
So there's money on the table, folks.
Exactly. We have something that I didn't have back in school, so please take advantage of it.
So money is on the table, and certainly I think that you'll be able to visit the Zoetis site for more information about that. That is a program certainly that AAVMC provides some administrative support for. So definitely check it out. And so with that, we will see everyone next month for the Diversity and Inclusion episode on air, episode 4. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great evening.
Take care.
Bye.